Every October, tourists flood into Bran Castle in Transylvania, chasing a myth born from a real man's blood-soaked reign. They come looking for Dracula. What they find is worse. How did a Romanian prince, sworn to defend Christian Europe, become the most feared name in his own century, and the template for history's most enduring monster? Vlad III was born in 1431 in Transylvania, son of Vlad II Dracula, a ruler of Wallachia, inducted into the Order of the Dragon by the Holy Roman Emperor. That title, Dracula, meant dragon, and it would curse his son with a name that outlived them both. Wallachia sat on the fault line of Europe, wedged between the expanding Ottoman Empire and the fracturing kingdoms of the West. Survival meant choosing sides, and choosing wrong meant death. His father chose the Ottomans, submitting to Sultan Murad II to buy peace. As collateral, young Vlad and his brother Radu were sent to the Ottoman court as hostages. There, locked in captivity for years, Vlad learned Turkish, studied warfare, and watched brutal punishments carried out under the future Sultan Mehmed II. The empire that held him prisoner also trained him. He absorbed its methods of control through fear, lessons he would later turn back against his captors. But just as Vlad's education in cruelty began, tragedy struck home. In 1447, Wallachian nobles, the boyars, assassinated his father and buried his older brother Mircea alive. Vlad, still a teenager, was suddenly an orphan with a claim to a throne and no army to seize it. The Ottomans, seeing opportunity, installed him briefly as their puppet prince. He lasted months before being driven out. For nearly a decade, Vlad wandered as a landless prince, exiled in Moldavia, then seeking support in Hungary. He watched rivals rule his homeland while he begged foreign courts for soldiers. This was his founding struggle: humiliation, poverty, and a growing hatred for the boyars who had murdered his family and the Ottomans who had once caged him. In 1456, backed by Hungarian support, Vlad finally seized Wallachia's throne by force. He did not waste time consolidating power gently. His first act as prince became infamous. He invited the boyars responsible for his father's murder to a grand feast. Mid-celebration, his soldiers seized them. The elderly were marched to Ponari Castle as slave labor to rebuild its walls until they collapsed. The younger nobles met the fate that would define his legacy forever: impalement, driven onto sharpened stakes, left to die slowly in rows outside his court. This was Vlad's method of rule: terror as governance. Historical accounts, later exaggerated but rooted in real atrocities, describe forests of impaled bodies outside his capital, a warning to anyone who defied him. Ottoman envoys who refused to remove their turbans in his presence were reportedly nailed to their own headwear. Merchants who cheated buyers found themselves executed publicly, their crimes announced beside their corpses. Crime dropped. So did any illusion of mercy. Then came the war that made him a legend beyond Wallachia's borders. In 1461, Vlad stopped paying tribute to the Ottoman Empire and began slaughtering Ottoman tax collectors along the Danube. Sultan Mehmed II, the same man who had conquered Constantinople just 8 years earlier, sent an army of over 60,000 men to crush him. Vlad commanded a fraction of that force. He chose guerrilla warfare, burning his own villages, poisoning wells, and retreating into the countryside rather than face the Ottomans in open battle. Then, in June 1462, he executed one of history's boldest night raids. Leading a small force disguised in Ottoman clothing, Vlad infiltrated the Sultan's own camp under cover of darkness, hoping to kill Mehmed directly. The night attack failed to reach the Sultan's tent, but it devastated Ottoman morale and inflicted catastrophic casualties. Weeks later, advancing Ottoman forces reached Vlad's capital and found his ultimate warning: a forest of more than 20,000 impaled bodies. Ottoman soldiers and Wallachian traders left rotting along the road. Mehmed's army, veterans of brutal campaigns, reportedly recoiled in horror at the sight. Vlad had turned atrocity into strategy, and all of Europe took notice. But triumph curdled quickly into betrayal. Vlad's own brother, Radu, raised alongside him in Ottoman captivity, had converted fully to the Ottoman cause and now led a rival faction of Wallachian boyars against him. Exhausted, outnumbered, and abandoned by former allies, Vlad fled north into Transylvania seeking Hungarian support. Instead, King Matthias Corvinus arrested him, holding him prisoner for over a decade on accusations, likely fabricated, of secretly negotiating with the Ottomans. Radu ruled Wallachia in his brother's place. For 12 years, Vlad sat in captivity, his legend growing even as his power evaporated. Then, in 1476, political winds shifted again. Hungary needed a loyal ruler back on Wallachia's throne, and Vlad, hardened, embittered, unrepentant, was released and reinstated with foreign backing. His second reign lasted barely 2 months. Ottoman-backed forces moved quickly to remove him. In the winter of 1476, near Bucharest, Vlad was killed in battle. Accounts differ on whether by Ottoman soldiers or by treacherous boyars during the chaos. His head, some chroniclers claim, was severed and sent to Constantinople, displayed on a spike as proof to Sultan Mehmed II that his old enemy was finally dead. For centuries afterward, Vlad's memory split into two irreconcilable legacies. In Romania, he became Vlad the Impaler, remembered by many as a harsh but necessary defender against Ottoman conquest. A ruler who used terror to forge order out of chaos on Europe's most dangerous frontier. Outside Romania, German pamphlets and Russian tales spread lurid, exaggerated accounts of his cruelty, transforming a wartime prince into a monster of pure sadism. Then, in 1897, Irish author Bram Stoker borrowed little more than a name and a Transylvanian setting, fusing Vlad's dark reputation with Eastern European vampire folklore to create Count Dracula. Stoker's novel had almost nothing to do with the historical prince's actual life, but the association was permanent. Vlad the Defender became Dracula the Predator, and the myth swallowed the man. Today, Bran Castle draws thousands of visitors chasing that myth, even though Vlad likely never set foot inside its walls. The real fortress tied to his memory, Honari, crumbles largely unvisited on a distant mountaintop, built, ironically, by the very nobles he condemned to die constructing it. The truth is stranger than the legend. A boy shaped by captivity became a prince who ruled through fear, defended his homeland with atrocity, and was betrayed by the brother raised beside him. Vlad the Impaler needed no fangs, no coffin, no supernatural curse. History had already made him terrifying enough, and it was fiction, not fact, that finally turned Wallachia's dragon into the world's most famous monster.